Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ellen and I most of all love to talk about the cycle and the spiral of the year and like the different time frames you find in a year and different energies that are combined with it. And originally I wanted to make this video about Samhain because we are in this beautiful time frame between, we just had the new moon on the 21st where we were celebrating the first feast of light, right? You had also had the Diwali in the eastern parts of the world. And we are coming forward to the full moon, which will lie on the 5th of November this year. And we are in this beautiful time frame where we can experience this beautiful, very specific energies. But I kind of did that last year, so I'm going to link that video somewhere over here because it actually really speaks about returning subjects about Samhain every single year. And just to recap, not to make this video about Samhain either, is that it is like we are very much like in the crown area of the mind of the human body, and we are kind of celebrating like enlightenment or like the leaving of the body. It's also, of course, the themes of death, themes of grief, which is the opposite, lies on the opposite spectrum of love, right? You can't have one without the other. So that's this beautiful line you're working with. And it is kind of stepping out of a human perspective because every single point in our yearly spiral is not that we are working with one thing and all the others doesn't matter anymore. It is more like we are looking from a certain perspective, right? So everything is true and everything is working every single point of the year, but at certain points we take certain perspectives, right? And at Samhain, we are almost going out of the human perspective. We are going like it's light is one of the first festivals of light. You're celebrating light. You're celebrating the enlightenment. It's like the leaving of the human body. It's leaving through the crown. Again, themes of that. And we are stepping outside of a human perspective, right? And this brings us so much clarity and wisdom and like a looking from afar and objectifying of an experience. So it's like a time of year that you can like kind of like take a distance and look from things from a distance, right? So that is kind of like energetically in the human body what is super interesting to work with. And then of course you have all the folklore, right? It's the moment of the year where the fairies and all the fae folk and all like the nature beings are kind of leaving this plane and like kind of like retreating from where we can almost interact with them. And they were coming back on right the 1st of May, right? So like I love always, and I teach about the Wheel of the Year, I love to teach that the line between Samhain and Beltane is like the fairy line, where you can like drag a line in the Wheel of the Year, where they're arriving and they are departing again, right? So this is a very like culturally interesting, like almost like living with the mythology and like living with the land and interacting with the land. It's all of a sudden we are stepping into a different perspective on that end as well. What I really wanted to like discuss with you and like bring into your awareness this year is, and what triggered me was I saw a video a few days back. I can't remember who made the video. It was a really beautiful, lovely lady. And she spoke about that we are kind of descending into the female part of the year. And that also we females in our lives, we are kind of like, we are going through times where we have to learn how to see in the dark. And that this part of the year is really like the descending of the female into the darkness and the learning how to see in the darkness and the retreating into it oneself and like going into this deep black like void that like is the female in a way, right? And I thought like, oh, this is such a beautiful way she is saying this. And it's also directly the opposite of what I was teaching like a couple of weeks before I saw even that video. I like to see it in a way that we are celebrating the male. We are celebrating like masculine qualities in this part of the year, and we are celebrating female qualities in like the summer and spring half of the year. So it's directly the opposite of what she was teaching. And you know what? Both are true. Both are so true. And it is all about perspectives. And it is putting yourself in these all these separate perspectives that is bringing you the wisdom and is bringing you this enlightenment. So this video is not really about me telling you that, oh, this is female and this is male and this part of the year is masculine and this part of the year is feminine. And, you know, like this is more like a reminder to think about it. It's an invitation for you to think about it, right? So I think very often today we think that the moon is female and the sun is male. But actually, if you look at Northern European mythology and folklore, you will actually see that the sun is female and the moon is male. And that, for me, that resonates very deeply. Like I very much stand with that perspective. That's very much my truth. Doesn't mean it has to be your truth. It is a point to consider. And in the female part of the year, of what I like to see as the female part of the year, that we are really celebrating the abundance and the creativity and all the fruits that the female brings. So we are almost celebrating the female from the 1st of February until like the 1st of August, because that is when the 1st of February, or around that date, right, is the sun gets born, right? She steps into life, and in August, the female dies again. And then we are stepping into the dark part and we are celebrating more male qualities in the remainder of the year. And why are both true? Why is it that we can both celebrate masculine qualities and also like descend into the female part of the year, both at the same time, now in autumn, at the beginning of winter? Why is that so? Now, what does the female and like these feminine qualities, what do they need to really deeply step into the darkness and really let go and like sink deeply into that void? What does she need? She needs protection. She needs like a container, and she needs to feel safe. Like safety is like the baseline for the feminine to bloom. She needs to feel safe. How does she feel safe? It is when this container and the structure is into place. Now, what are very typical like masculine qualities? And also just we, like the masculine and the feminine, we both mirror, are both mirrored in human beings, right? So don't take it like too like, all right, don't hate me. Like, what are typical male, like masculine qualities? And those are structure, discipline, steadiness, not like swaying in the wind, like being like the trunk of the tree, right? This is some of the very like typical male qualities you can celebrate and can like come forward in yourself. And before you can also as a female, to like be able to descend into this safeness and to descend into this darkness, I need to set a really nice structure for myself. I need to have a very nice structure so I can make it through winter time. What do I need on a day-to-day basis? Like, how do I feel safe? How do I have different routines? How do I follow up with these routines? Can I have discipline through the winter time? I know what I'm talking about is very vague, and I also didn't script this video, right? Obviously. Now, you can almost also explain it by looking deeper into like the moon and the sun, or the analogy you can make with the moon and the sun. And the way I like to see it is that the sun is the source of life, right? The sun is life-giving, life-bearing, is very female in nature. And it brings forth this warmth and this creativity and the setting you need to produce new ideas, to produce life, okay? Now, the moon is also always present, just like the sun is always present. The sun goes up and down every single day. And of course, this is where you have the seasons of the year, right? In the summer year, the sun is almost constantly there. We see all the fruits and the flowers, and you see it's just blooming in nature. Now, when the sun is always up, and here in Scandinavia, it's much more obvious than it is in the southern parts, like more towards the equator. But when the sun is almost constantly up, you kind of less rely on the light of the moon. Okay, so even though you can see the moon and you see the full moon and you see the new moon, or you don't see the new moon, the light of the moon has much less influence. Right. Now, when you get to the darker parts of the year, when the sunlight barely gets over the mountains before it starts setting again, the light of the moon is so much more important. Okay. Just as like in the parts of the female, when you are in your periods of the month, where you are blooming, you feel full of energy. You need way less support than you will need in the other parts of your month, right? When you are going through like the trenches of your cycles. That is where you much more will need this structure and this container and this support. So you can kind of look at it this way, to see the perspective of the sun being female and the moon being male. And both the sun and the moon are always there. They both go through cycles. Okay, and it is so very interesting because we are cycling with the moon as people in a female body. We are cycling with the moon. Our cycle is connected with the cycle of the moon, and that is because we are so much in like this support system and this duality of masculine and female, right? We are so much in this interaction and this support of each other. And we can bring forth qualities of both into ourselves, into our lives, but also, of course, in the relationship we have with society, with the world, and with nature. So yes, we are descending into the deep, dark void that is the feminine, and we are wintering, and we are resting, and we are in this time of the year that we need so much more support and structure from male qualities. And we need to nurture ourselves and like nurture the seeds that were planted in August, so that these seeds we can bring forward and give birth to these seeds in February again. So at this time of the year, and we are really going into the darkness. That doesn't really happen yet with the autumn equinox. Doesn't really happen yet. Now it has happened. We are now it is happening that we are going into the dark. Okay, and it is so beautiful because this is almost kind of like the most still, and if you know how to support yourself, one of the most peaceful and quiet moments of the year. If you know how to work with the crown and work with this celebrating of the lights and work with this stepping out of your human perspective and taking a broader picture and looking at this whole duality in its wholeness. Because the male and the female, it is not the spectrum, even though we really like to make this analogy these days in the world. It is not the spectrum, right? You know I'm right. It is two opposites that are interacting, but there's not the spectrum. And yes, we have both quality in us again, okay? I don't want to have any misunderstandings about that. Both are mirrored inside every single thing. But it is not a spectrum. It is a cosmic dance of two very different things. And they are pulling and dragging and containing and supporting and pulling out of each other and adding into each other. So that is what I want you to think about this time of year. Just turn it around in your head, see all sides of it, and then let me know, like, what is the moon and the sun for you? Who is masculine and who is feminine? What is for you the female part of the year and what is the male part of the year? When do you celebrate the female qualities and when do you celebrate the male qualities? Let me know how you feel about it. How is it in your part of the world? Because the different parts of the world are also really talking differently about it. But then if you look at it from afar, taking an objective perspective, you can see that both are true and just take a step back. And that's exactly what we are doing this part of the year. So thank you for watching this very short video. I wish you a beautiful time. Take a stroll in the moonlight on the 5th of November. And then we will see each other again in another video. Bye bye.